NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV.
Getting close. We're at -1 degree of elevation, so it's still below the horizon.
NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. NAONSS. This is KC3SGV. We have you a 5-7, a pretty good signal. So, are you ready for some questions?
I'm ready for questions. Go ahead.
How will the work astronauts are doing today help humanity in the future? Over.
Well, that's a good question. We are doing a lot of different scientific research and technology development up here. Some of it is basic science, which means that we're interested in understanding how physical, chemical, biological processes work, and it's difficult to say how that will benefit us in the future. It's very hard to predict, but we're also doing a lot of applied science in human physiology, for example, where we're trying to understand the immune system, how that's impacted by stress, how our body responds to other factors induced by weightlessness, radiation, and that gives us a better insight into the human body, into disease, that hopefully helps us on the Earth. Same with technology demonstration. We're working with sustainable technologies up here that hopefully will also benefit us on Earth. Over.
How soon do you see living in space as a possibility in the future? Over.
That's really hard to predict. I think in a few years we'll return to the moon. We'll have a space station in orbit about the moon. After that, perhaps a base on the surface. And then after that, we'll hopefully continue onwards to Mars and establish bases there. How long before people actually live? I mean, in some sense, we're already living in space now, spending anywhere from 6 months to a year on board the International Space Station. Over.
Do you believe we are alone in the universe, and why? Over.
I've got to say, I don't think we are alone. I think there's life out there. I think it's because just in our own galaxy, there are billions of stars, and everything suggests that many of those stars have planets orbiting them just like our sun has solar systems, which means that there are probably billions and billions of planets in our own Milky Way galaxy. And so it would just seem very strange if the Earth is the only planet out of billions of planets where there's life. I don't know if there is intelligent life, but I think there's a good chance that there's simple life forms like microorganisms, bacteria, maybe plants on other planets out there. Over.
What is the hardest thing to acclimate to on the ISS? Over.
I don't know. ISS pretty quickly. Probably the hardest thing in the beginning is weightlessness, simply because it's so unusual from anything we're used to on the Earth, and you can't really train it on the ground. If we train spacewalks on the ground, we do it underwater, but even underwater, it's not really the same thing. You have water drag, which slows you down. Up here, it's so easy to move around, yet also challenging. So weightlessness really, you don't learn until you get up here.
What is the most fun or interesting thing about living in space that you would not be able to do on Earth? Over.
I'd say there's two things. One thing is being weightless. You can only do it up here in space, and it is so much fun. It is the ultimate feeling of freedom. It's the closest that we humans can come to flying like a bird. And it doesn't take very much, or doesn't take any energy or muscles. Just a small little push, and you're flying almost like Superman down the length of the space station. And it is just incredibly fun. The other thing is looking at our beautiful planet in space. There is something incredibly awe-inspiring with sitting in the window and looking down at our beautiful planet. Over.
What is the first thing you plan to do when you get back to Earth that is not required by NASA? Over.
Oh, there are a few things. One, give my kids and my wife a big hug, have a nice shower, have something good to eat. Yeah, there's a few things. Just smell the air, take a deep breath of fresh air. Over.
What is the biggest challenge in future space exploration? Over.
Well, I think one of the big challenges is becoming more independent. I mean, it is still incredibly expensive to launch things into space. So the cheaper we can do that, the better, which also means being able to produce things in space, maybe 3D printing in the future, using resources that we find on the moon, on asteroids, on Mars. So becoming sustainable in some way is probably the biggest challenge.
What other professions were you interested in prior to NASA, and are you still interested in them? Over.
Well, to be honest, I've always been fascinated with space exploration, so much so that I decided to become an aerospace engineer because I knew that the chance of becoming an astronaut was very small, and so I still wanted to work with space exploration even if I couldn't be an astronaut. And so I became an aerospace engineer, and I'm still very much interested in developing satellites, spacecraft that we send to other planets and out into space to study the solar system and the universe. Over.
What or who inspired you to become an astronaut? Over.
I think it was the Apollo missions to the moon that really inspired me. When I was a kid and I learned about the Apollo missions to the moon, I thought that was the greatest adventure I could possibly imagine. And even to this day, I think it's the most incredible thing that we humans ever forgotten. Imagine landing on this unknown world, opening the hatch and stepping out into the world. Yeah, it's incredible. That's what inspired me, and it's still what inspires me.
What was the biggest challenge you had to face in order to become an astronaut, and why? Over.
Well, the whole selection is very challenging because so many people apply and would like to become an astronaut. So there's a huge level of competition. When I applied, there were about 8,500 other applicants. And it's just very challenging because there's so many excellent people who are all dreaming of becoming an astronaut and who all have incredible skills. And so going through that process, meeting the other candidates, and then finally making it to the end of being selected, that was a very big challenge. Over.
Why do you think that space exploration is important? Over.
Well, space exploration is important in many ways. One, because it it's about knowledge. It's about expanding our horizons, both physically, but also mentally. It's about physically traveling into space, but also mentally traveling. Increasing our knowledge and understanding of the universe that we're part of, and that includes the Earth. The Earth is a big part of what we do in space exploration, understanding the planet, understanding how it changes with time, and how we're affecting it. And then also, it's about the future of space exploration, it's about creating the future that we want.
How long did it take you to adapt to zero G? Over.
I mean, personally, that's a good question. A few hours, a day maybe. I felt fairly good as soon as I got into zero G. I suffered from space adaptation sickness or space motion sickness. So I felt pretty good right after we got into space.
What task do you enjoy doing the most and least on the ISS? Over.
Well, at the moment, we're doing a lot of really interesting scientific research, looking at brain cells, how they age. We have a biofabrication facility